What is up, guys? Long time no see. This is Justice. Today we're going to be comparing Shedletsky's original Sword Fights in the Heights 4 with Nostalgia Zone's Sword Fights in the Heights 4 because Nostalgia Zone is the second most popular Sword Fights in the Heights 4 version. We're just going to look at pros and cons of either game and also neutral features that are basically good or bad depending on how you look at it. So let's jump in. One thing that the original Sword Fights does better than Nostalgia Zone does is it has badges. It makes sense because Nostalgia Zones is a emulation of 2009 Sword Fights in the Heights 4. Badges weren't in the game back then, but it's nice to have, you know, a goal to work towards, like Blade Master, for example, getting 20 and 0. A lot of people like to go for that one, and John Loved of Muses, etc. So that's one thing that the original has over Nostalgia Zone. Now, another thing that the original Sword Fights in the Heights 4 does better than Nostalgia Zones, and that is rearranging your inventory. On normal Sword Fights in the Heights, you can just press the tilde key or whatever hotkey you've got set to, open your inventory and, you know, drag your items around to put them in a specific order. On Nostalgia Zone, you've got to go through a process of dropping your items one by one and picking them back up again to get them in the right spot. It's just a little tedious. It's not even that big of a deal, but it's definitely a lot better just to open that backpack up. The Sword Fights in the Heights 4, the original version, gets updated and it gets bug fixes from time to time. Sometimes it's years in between fixes, but at least it's a fix. On Nostalgia Zone, it doesn't get any bug fixes. It's an emulation of just 2009 Sword Fights in the Heights. So back then, people could push each other around, push you off the out of the safe room. Illumina did not illuminate invisible players, so we're kind of unfortunately stuck in 2009 on the second most popular version. Another small thing that Sword Fights in the Heights 4, the original, does better than Nostalgia Zone is the ability to toggle the UI. So you're able to turn off the chat, you're able to hide the player list. On Nostalgia Zone, since it's an emulation of 2009, you cannot do that. But I will say it's nice having the old GUI on Nostalgia Zone. It takes it back to the old days, especially with the safe chat and, you know, just the ability to feel nostalgic. Another thing that Sword Fights in the Heights 4 original does better than Nostalgia Zone is allows you to have your own avatar clothing in-game. On Nostalgia Zone, it's like a pre-generated outfit. On the original, though, you can wear your, I guess, sickest drip, or whatever the kids say nowadays. I will say it's nice on Nostalgia Zone because you can buy classic hats in-game and old t-shirts and faces and all that fun stuff with the in-game currency tickets. Now let's talk about a con that the original Sword Fights in the Heights 4 has, and I say this is probably one of the biggest. It's all of the glitches and all of the exploiters. We know this game is infested with exploiters. They'll move the map around, they'll loop kill and teleport around and speed hack, etc. I even saw a Hitler in-game. It's insane. And then the glitches, of course, we've got the force field glitch, we got the shot bug where you freeze after opening the shop. You know, when you jump and slash your sword, you freeze in midair. And then the, you know, wobble plates are broken, etc. I just barely uploaded a very comprehensive video on all of the glitches, so if you want to see that, it will be recommended or linked in the description. So when we're contrasting Sword Fights in the Heights 4, the original, with Nostalgia Zone, there is no doubt about it. The original has way more glitches, way more exploiters. The only two glitches on Nostalgia Zone are the broken llama spinners and the Illumina gravity glitch, which is also on the original. I remember now that the Illumina did not illuminate invisible people back then, and you know, pushing people out of the safe room is not necessarily a glitch. There was a time period on Sword Fights in the Heights 4 where you couldn't push people, but that was not back in 2009. So yeah, that is one con that Sword Fights in the Heights, the original, has compared to Nostalgia Zone. Another thing that Nostalgia Zone does better is Nostalgia Zone gives you a music toggle, so you can toggle the music on and off, but still keep the sword sounds. On Sword Fights in the Heights 4, not only is there no music toggle, but the music is so loud, even when turned down as much as you can, it interferes with sword fighting and listening for, ghost walkers above you, etc. So that is another con that Sword Fights in the Heights original has, and another thing that Nostalgia Zone does better. So this next one is actually something that the original Sword Fights does better, and that is lag. Now there is some lag on the original Sword Fights. It comes from time to time, but the Nostalgia Zone lag is even worse. I think it's because, Clone Trooper is basically emulating classic physics. I think that causes some latency lag, but it's definitely, it's a pretty big factor in streaking on Nostalgia Zone, we'll put it that way. So this is definitely something that the original Sword Fights does better. So this next one is kind of neutral, and it's the amount of players that actually play on both games. I play Nostalgia Zone because it actually has a solid player base. Most of the time you'll get like servers of 10 to 20. Sword Fights in the Heights, the original, can even be surpassed by Nostalgia Zone's Sword Fights in the Heights player count, and vice versa. Sometimes Nostalgia Zone is dead and Sword Fights in the Heights 4 has more players. So when you contrast both games in regards to the amount of people that are playing it at any given time, they're basically neutral. So while we're on the topic of player base and the amount of people that play these games, let's discuss the server size, the lobby size. So on Nostalgia Zone, the lobby size is either 25 or 30, I don't really know. On Sword Fights in the Heights 4, the original, the server size is 20. However, most servers only go to 15. Roblox has a feature for developers where it basically can autofill the server to a certain amount and leave some slots over so friends can join up, and that is the case on Sword Fights. So it's usually 18 people. I like the Sword Fights on the Heights 4. I wish that there was less people per server because it's a more fast-paced game. On Nostalgia Zone, I also love the giant servers, but sometimes they're just a little too much. So, there's pros and cons for both. One of the more major differences between Nostalgia Zone and the original Sword Fights on the Heights is the Jetboots. If you guys remember, randomly Shedletsky removed the Jetboots back in 2016, and he's never brought them back. He said he was going to, but he hasn't. I don't know why. Maybe he has bigger plans for the game. I don't know. On Nostalgia Zone, though, we've got working Jetboots, baby. So, yeah, that's definitely way better to have those Jetboots there. So that does it for this episode of Sword Fights in the Heights 4 Original by Shedletsky versus the Nostalgia Zone version. I just thought this would be a fun video to do, and I've been wanting to do it for months now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Check out some of my other videos if you'd like to, and stay safe everyone. Episode 2 will be coming out hopefully soon. Thanks.